What is going on, everyone? My name is Joseph Reynolds, and today joining me is the Jackal himself, Mr. Jacob Wall, head of your Flyweight title bout and Golden Ticket Fight Promotions. Obviously, another big fight for you in your career so far. How are you feeling for that fight?
I can't wait to go. I really can't wait to go. I spent the weekend in Walsall at Intensity MMA, and they've got a golden ticket belt in their lobby. So I spent a couple of days staring at it, and it makes me really eager to get in the cage and really go and fight for it.
Yeah, and then obviously sort of visualizing these fights you mentioned there, just seeing the belt as well and thinking about it. When you are sort of getting close to these sort of fights and having these fights still quite early on in your amateur career, it wasn't too long ago since you made your debut. Did you expect to be in this position as soon as you are, or is this something that you always saw for yourself since debuting?
I think I before I debuted, I always thought I would make myself one of the best flyweights in the UK, Europe, and so on. But to be honest, I didn't think it happened so quickly. I thought I'd take it one step at a time. But I think really the key to me getting to positions like this so quickly is taking hard fights and really keeping active and really fighting when I can.
Yeah, and you mentioned the hard fights there. Obviously, you've had your experiences at the Four Nations and then the World Championships as well at the IMAS. To have those experiences, how has that sort of propelled you, would you say, in a sense, to already have these experiences of traveling to different countries to fight and having to do the same day weigh-ins, knowing you could fight more times in a week than you normally would do as a fighter? What have those experiences been like to have for yourself?
I think they're worth more than like I can really put into words, to be honest. Like I went to the Worlds when I was 3-1, and I'd fought some good guys before that, but it was a real test of myself where like this is a moment where I can really prove I belong here or see if I don't belong here, sort of thing. And I fought a really tough kid from Armenia, and I think me and him, even though I didn't win, I do think me and him really brought the best out of each other. And same with the Four Nations, like fighting at bantamweight as well. I'm not a natural bantamweight. I do feel tailored to fighting at flyweight, my body style, my fighting style. But yeah, like the same day weigh-ins, like when I fought Ethan Riddler at the Four Nations, trying not to. Well, that wasn't a super exciting fight. The key in there really was to not take damage because I knew if I'd win, I'd be fighting the next day. But that kind of went out the window at the Worlds because me and Zaven from Armenia have had a bit of a knockdown drag out war on day one.
Yeah, and as well, obviously, the take a look at the record, obviously, the Iron Mass, it didn't go your way, and then the Four Nations, you won the first fight but lost the second. But there's still the high level guys, and if people watch those fights, to see as well the improvements that you have had. So to sort of move into this fight where you've sort of more time to prepare for it, it's just the one fight, it's not the same day weigh-ins in that sense. Does it feel almost different preparing for a fight like this as opposed to the tournaments that have been beforehand?
It does feel different in the fact that I know who I'm fighting, and obviously it's different with I can weigh in the day before. My more natural, more suited weight class. I know I'm gonna have to rehydrate. I've got plenty of time to rehydrate and refuel my body, ready to fight the next day. And I didn't think about it when I went to the Worlds and when I've done the Four Nations, but obviously fighting about shin guards on, fighting it's more of like a even though it's more of like the normal amateur fight where you're in there just your shorts, your gloves, nothing else. Um, I don't know really. It feels similar, but also feels different at the same time. But either way, whether I was representing Four Nations or at the World or just a normal amateur fight, I'm still putting the same 100% effort into training camp.
Yeah, and then as well, obviously, we've touched on those tournaments as well, but at the same time, also getting to represent your country as well in a sport that's ever growing. It's still not recognised as it yet, but to be able to do that and represent your country as well on the highest level for an amateur, what did that mean to you to be able to do that?
It's an amazing feeling, really. Like ever since I was a young kid, no matter what sport I'd done, I used to do track and field as a kid and played rugby as a kid, and then eventually find MMA. Like I always knew I wanted to represent my country at something. And growing up, I weren't really sure what it was going to be, but being able to be chosen to represent England with only 4 fights under my amateur career at the time was an amazing feeling. Like before I'd even been chosen, I'd walk out to fights with an English flag or a British flag. But but yeah, to be able to represent my country on that real world level was like, there's nothing like it really.
Yeah, and then as well, even looking at this title fight, obviously some of the people that are holding the golden ticket fight promotion belts, they've gone on to do great things, and to know that you're fighting for them and being in the same category as those people, again, what does that sort of mean to already be in those sort of categories and conversations as those people with the belt?
It's mad really. Like I was thinking about that earlier, like some of the names that have these golden ticket belts through the years is insane. Like we've seen great fighters in all weight classes be on golden ticket, and I think golden ticket's one of the better shows in the UK right now. Like the standard of show from the bottom to the top, no matter what it is, the way the show's run, everything is such a good show, and it's just a really good platform. And I think more amateurs should want to fight on a show like Golden Ticket.
100%. And then as well, sort of, they're talking a bit about the training, obviously training at Combat Sports Academy, even got the shirt on as well there with the logo on. But in terms of training out of that gym, it seems that there's been a real rise sort of over the last 12 months, especially with guys coming out of that gym and doing well. So to train there and be around those different training partners and seeing them when they're always regularly competing as well as yourself, what is that sort of like to have there as a motivator?
So we're not a massive gym. We're a small gym, but like I think that benefits us. We're like a nice little close knit community. We've got our own culture. My head MMA coach Mick Hall, honestly, I think he doesn't compete, but I think he's one of the best black belts in the UK. Like really, really, really high level grappler, and his MMA knowledge is he's an absolute genius when it comes to just fighting in general. Like he's an encyclopedia full of techniques. Like anything you ask him, he's got a solution to it and something on from there and even more so. But it's great. Like we had when I first joined Combat Sports Academy, I was about 15 years old. And when I signed up, I knew I wanted to fight. It was my dream to fight and have an amateur career and then eventually have a pro career. And the fight team sort of died off a little bit when I first joined. And it's nice to see it really pick up again with myself at the minute. I'm our most experienced guy, but guys like Prashant Rana, who fought on the last Golden Ticket, my close friend Levi Gamer wants to get on Golden Ticket soon. And we've got loads of good guys coming through to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and then just sort of moving back onto the fight, obviously yourself and then your opponent Joe Froghorn as well. Both know that you can bring it to the cage and you're all going to leave it all out in there. But how do you sort of see this fight playing out if you can look at it?
Look, I feel like the way I explained Joe, like Joe's really game. Like there's not one thing he does well. Like he can strike, he can wrestle, and he can grapple. But in fights, like when he fought Tyler Derbyshire, he got out wrestled. When he fought Zach McGee, he got outstruck and out wrestled. And he's picked up two good wins recently. Like he did have a decision win where he used his wrestling and he had a quick submission in round one. But I think someone like me, I'm a very similar stylistic fighter to him, where there's not one thing you look at me and you go like, oh, he's a really good striker, he's a really good grappler. I think I've got a good enough level that's still improving in my striking, in my wrestling, and in my grappling. And I just think that in all aspects, I do everything a little bit better than Joe. But I know he's tough. I know his game. He comes in fit and ready to fight, and I'm expecting him to come hard and be in my face from the first bell up until the last bell. But I'm definitely aiming to get a finish and get him out of there. I know I've got 5 rounds to work, so I'm not going to rush, but I'm also not going to take my time too much. But I do think I get a finish within the time limit, whether it's a knockout, a TKO, or a submission.
Yeah, and as well you mentioned there in terms of obviously this being a 5 round fight instead of the usual 3 amateur, do you feel as though 5 rounds is what really suits yourself?
I think so. Like I don't like calling myself it, but I do feel like I'm a slow starter, and I've had coaches and people say I'm a slow starter. I always, even fights where I've won in the first round, like I've had to go through some adversity to get going, but I do think 5 rounds really suits me. I've always thought I've had a really good cardio game and gas tank, but you watch my fights. Round one will go a bit slow, but round two I get better, and round three I get better than round two, and then I can only imagine that round four and five I'm going to keep getting better as the fight goes on.
100%. And then just a final thing for myself is obviously a great title fight for the flyweight belt as well on a great promotion. In terms of what the fans can expect to see come fight night, when you finally fight for that belt, what can they expect to see?
Violence, pure violence. Joe's going to come game. I'm going to come game. and I'm sure we're going to be in each other's faces from round 1 to round 5 if we get there.
100%. Well, that is everything from myself. If you'd like to take a chance at sponsors, teammates, anything like that, obviously feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, shout out to my team, Combat Sports Academy. Special shout out to Intensity MMA for having me and letting me sleep in the gym these last couple of days. Dan Cassell himself, got a good relationship with him, obviously head coach there. My coach, Mick Hall, as I mentioned earlier. Pure Shilajit UK, At the Buzzer UK, LRS Physiotherapy. And yeah, I think that's it. And then obviously my family and everyone travelling up to Wolverhampton with me, my girlfriend, everyone coming to support. It means the world to me. And I'm going to bring that belt home, not just for me, but for everyone supporting me.
100%. Well, I really appreciate your time today. Obviously, golden ticket, a great promotion with a great title fight on the line. Definitely one to see. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Cheers.